and welcome to Global Science News. Tonight we present a special report about Russia 2025 inside a changing nation. We will examine the its case events shaping Russia today, like political reforms, economic pressures, social tensions, and global development. Every major should include a short analysis to explain what these developments really mean. Let's begin. The political factor: Putin signs year-round military draft law. In early November, the Moscow Times reported that President Vladimir Putin signed a law that introduced year-round military conscription, ending and traditional sessional draft. The new system takes effect on March 2026 and allows the Kremlin to call up recruits at any moment. These reforms expand the government's ability to sustain the workforce and resolve the transparent around troops numbers. It centralizes power and increases uncertainty for the young men and their families across their country. The Luka 28-point prize plan between USA and Furious Russia. The Guardian related a Luka 28-point prize draft negotiated informally between people close to Donald Trump and Russian officials. And the plan demanded that Ukraine recognize Russian control over Crimea, Donetsk, and Luhansk. They limit its military force, commit to never join to NATO, and accept an amnesty for Russian leaders wanted by the ICC. Europe immediately rejected their proposal. Putin first called it a possible breach, but later increased his demands. The league gave Russia diplomatic leverage by showing the world that Washington might have softened its stance. At the same time, Putin's response shows he prefers to prolong negotiations to pressure Ukraine and divide the Western allies. Russia prepares full digital isolation. According to Ukraine's intelligence agency, Russia advanced its internet sovereignty plan. Beginning in the 2026, the government will be able to block all VPNs, filter international content, and disconnect Russia from the global internet entirely. The same period, the Human Rights Watch was decided making any collaboration illegal. These moves indicated a shift toward total information control. By limiting digital freedom, the Kremlin reduced the spread of independent news and strengthened its control over public opinion during wartime. Russia lowered interest rate to 16.5%. The central bank reduced the key rate from 17% to 16.5%, even though inflation is above 10%. This says sharper loans are needed because the economy is slowing. However, cutting rates widespread are recent could make inflation worse. The second news is VAT increased to 22%. Starting in January 2026, Russia will raise VAT from 20% to 22%, helping forward government activities. These tax hurts low-income people the most, meaning everyday consumers, and will pay more. The third news is oil and gas revenues dropped 35%. Oil and gas income fell by 35% in November, and total yearly earnings will be much lower than planned. This shows sanctions are working, reducing Russia's main source of money and forcing the government to borrow more and raise taxes. The Russia's economy faces mounting pressures, declining revenues, and higher taxes, persistent inflation, and growing dependence on government innovation. Russia draft 135,000 men. Putin ordered that 130,000 men between 18 and 30 must join the army. They create the stress for and fear to many families who don't know what will happen their sons or brothers. Because of this, more young people think about leaving the country to avoid military service. It increases the feeling that Russia is becoming more military centers. The second news is families and social segments. Group of mothers and wives who protest against the war were started and arrested very quickly. Those women and only wanted answers and better treatment for their living loved ones. By shooting these groups down, the government shows it is afraid of happens discussion about the human cause of war, and one of the few voices that could change the public opinion is no being silence. Life sentences for criminal breach case. Eight people received life sentences for their supposed part in criminal breach bombing. The human rights group says that their trial was unfair, unfair and broken legal rules. People now feel scared that even being connected to someone who citizens the government could bring serious punishment. This creates a climate where people stay quiet to protect themselves and their family. Fourth, patriotic control and re-education of children. Russia expanded patriotic classes and began moving children from occupied Ukrainian areas to distant regions of Russia. These, chil- these children are taught new values and new values to shape them in loyal servant and state. This has important long-term effects because it changes how future generations will see their identity, culture, and history, and it also raise international course about human rights and family separation. Migrants deported and labor problems. More than 80,000 Central Asian migrants were deported in 2025. Some areas banned foreigners from working in important industries like construction and transportation. This makes people hostile toward migrants and increases fear between communities. Without migrant workers, there are fewer employees and companies produce less and prices go up. The social summary Russia now faces a social environment full of military pressures, control of speech, fear of punishment, demographic decline, and their hostility toward minorities and migrants. Their daily life becomes more tense and many people feel uncertain about their future.
We continue our analysis with Russia's response to money problems. We will see a complex emergency plan for money and taxes made to avoid a collapse, but it hurt long-term stability. First, tax and legal decisions are made to create fast cash, putting military spending first, even if it pushes private businesses out of the market. The news of this factor that legal are this. New number one, the finance ministry say they need to borrow much more money inside Russia. The finance ministry had to admit that a big hole in the budget means they must borrow a lot more money inside Russia than they planned. This has one big bad effect. It's called the crawling out effect. It means the government takes all the money needed from loans, leaving nothing for the private businesses, private sector that want to grow. Small companies feel this strongly, which stop investment outside of the military business. Second news is that there is a plan to permanently raise the customer tax VAT from 20 to 22%. There is now a plan to permanently raise the main customer tax VAT from 20 to 22% for the next year. This is the main way to pay the war. Now that oil money is down, this tax increase is putting directly on everything people buy, meaning higher prices and less real buying power for everyone. This unfair tax hurt people with low and middle incomes the most. New number three, the USA sanctions Ronald and Lukoil, limiting their global shipping and financial access. The USA put strong sanctions against the huge oil firms Ronald and Lukoil, making it hard for them get global shipping and bank services. This forces to Russia to deal with shipping insulation and sell its oil with very big discounts to new buyers. This cut in profit hurt the government income. Now the exchange rate factor. Next, the ruble is not a free currency anymore. It's a controlled currency. Its value is set by the government political needs to keep things looking stable. The first news is that the central bank is forced to increase its daily sales of foreign currency to support the ruble. The central bank has to sell a bigger amount of foreign currency like dollars and euros from its saving every day. The ruble is being kept high on purpose by these big sales, which use up national saving. This is a direct cost to the country and shows that the money policy is now controlled by politics. Second is the plan for a higher VAT tax creates a feeling of stability for the ruble. The plan for a higher VAT tax made a market feel better because it looked like the government found a strong way to fund its spending. This shows that the government can use tax plans to create a feeling of stability and calmly manage the money situations in the country. The next news is sanctions on Russian oil companies reduce the flow of foreign currency, leading to stricter capital controls. Because of sanctions, fewer dollars and euros enter Russia. This leads to a shortage of foreign money, forcing the central bank to tighten control and ask exporters to convert their money into rubles. This makes it harder and more expensive for people to buy goods from other countries or travel. New number four, the 35% drop in oil and gas revenue increased the ruble's weakness. The big 35 drop in oil and gas money makes the ruble very weak. Its value now depends almost totally on political actions, which causes a lot of long-term trust. This encourages people to save money in other currencies, a trend called yuanization. That the yuan is the money of China. Now, with the the economic model factor is being forced to change, looking for ways around sanctions and changing Russia's role as an exporter. New number one, see crude oil export see their biggest weekly drop. It's a negative 5%. See crude oil exports had their biggest weekly drop in month, like is negative 5%. This is due to fear from shipping companies because of new sanctions. This means shipping and insurance costs are higher, and the Russian seller has to pay for them, making the discount on Ural's oil even bigger. Mm, New number two. So Russia is cutting the amount of crude oil it processes in its own refineries. Russia has been forced to reduce the amount of crude oil it refines at home. This forces to Russia to be a less advanced exporter, selling raw crude instead of more valuable refined products. This significantly cut their potential profit margins and move the economy backward. Refineries in friendly countries are the indirect winners, as they can buy discounted crude and make the high value products themselves. New number three, sanctions leave millions of barrels without buyers, hurting long term income. The sanctions mean that millions of barrels of oil has no buyers in the regular market. This forces Russia to quickly rely on the shadow fleet, which are all shipping with poor insurance, and this is risky and also very expensive. And the last news is the Kremlin is pushing to develop a crypto payment system for foreign trade. Russia is putting more effort into developing a crypto payment system for international trade. The goal is to get around the Western banking system. While this is a necessary but unstable way out for deals with partners like China and India, it is risky due to the high price swing of crypto. The strategic result in the faster breaking up of the global financial system into separate blocks. And these are all the news for these factors. And for the legal, the exchange rate, and and the economic model. Finally, Russia's finances are kept afloat by extreme action that hurt its future growth. The cost of the war The war has been made official, moved onto customers and private investment. Now our last presenter will show us the investment risk and Russia global positions. Thank you.
Coming next, we got investment index analysis, where on November 26th, Russia issues rules for digital asset investments. This means the government announces lighter regulations for buying digital assets, allowing more citizens and institutions to invest in cryptocurrencies. This reform shows Moscow search for alternative finances channels that bypass Western banking systems. While it offers short term flexibility, it exposes Russia to the volatility of crypto markets and increases dependence on unregulated financial infrastructure. Few days later, on November 13th, we got the central bank approves crypto derivatives for funds, where the central bank authorizes investment funds to purchase cryptocurrency based derivatives. This decision attempts to modernize Russia's financial system and attract new capital, but it also increases systematic risks. Crypto derivatives are complex and unstable, which could amplify financial shocks inside an already strained economy. Almost a month earlier, was legalized for international trade. Uh, Russia's Ministry of Trade issues a decree allowing cryptocurrency to be used in cross border trade as a replacement for SWIFT based transactions. This means that by turning to crypto for foreign trade, Russia signals desperation to maintain international commerce under sanctions. This move could help bypass restrictions, but it also invites deeper scrutiny from global regulations and may trigger secondary sanctions on partners. Next, we got country position, where on November 28th, Russia falls to regain IMO Council seat. Um, to secure a seat for on the International Maritime Organization's Governing Council, this diplomatic defeat highlights Russia's weakened influence in major global institutions. It suggests that international bodies remain aligned with Western positions despite Russia's attempts to build alternative alliances. A day earlier, on November 27th, the diplomatic tension with Poland escalates was felt. The Kremlin closes a Polish consulate in Siberia in response to earlier Polish actions, where the ongoing diplomatic hostility with Poland reflects a border collapse of Russia's relations with Europe. Each regulatory step makes future normalization more difficult and increases political isolation. Then, on October 19th, energy export pivot toward Asia. Russian officials announced new long term energy agreements aimed at replacing European buyers. Russia's pivot to Asia is strategic but risky. It gives access to large markets, yet it also creates dependence on a smaller group of powerful buyers, especially China, who can negotiate lower prices. On November 17th, it went through an expanded activity in Southeast Asia, where Russia strengthens cooperations with the Southeast Asian partners through new trade and security agreements. These initiatives show Russia's effort to diversify global partnerships. However, many Southeast Asian countries prefer balanced diplomacy, meaning Russia's influence may retain limited compared to China or the United States. Now, talking about relevant situations in Russia, we got November 10th, where the foreign minister missing from key meeting, where Sergei Lavrov's unexplained absence from a major Security Council meeting raises speculation about internal tensions. Such absence often indicate political instability behind the scenes. If top officials are repositioning themselves, it may signal deeper divisions with the elite. On November 17th, the former prime minister added to extremist lists were Mikhail Kasinov and the economist Sergei Guriev are officially designated as extremists and terrorists. Labeling former high ranking officials as extremists shows a dramatic escalation in political repression. It signals that no opposition, even from with the elite, will be tolerated. 2 weeks ago, on November 25, Russia secures naval access to the Gulf of Guinea. Russia obtains permission to use West African port for naval operations. This move extends Russia's military footprint into a strategically vulnerable region, however expanded globally while facing economic crisis at home may stretch military resources thin. Concluding this analysis of Russia 2025, it, it is an inside a changing nation. As we conclude tonight's special report, it becomes clear that Russia in 2025 is moving through one of the most complex and transformative periods in its recent history. Across politics, economy, the society, and global strategy, we can see a pattern of tightening control, rising pressure, and rapid change. Politically, Russia has adopted stronger centralization and deeper state control. Year round conscription, digital isolation, and restrictions on civil organizations show a government preparing for long term confrontation and prioritizing security over transparency. Economically, the country faces a difficult balance. Oil revenues are falling, sanctions are intensifying, inflation continues to grow, and the state relies on tax increases, borrowing, and emergency measures to stabilize the system. While Russia is adapting through alternative financial tools, including cryptocurrency, these solutions carry significant risks. Socially, fear and pressure are rising. Expanding conscription, repression of protest groups, life sentence for accused dissenters, and mass deportations reveal a society understated. At the same time, patriotic education and information control attempt to shape public perception and maintain internal unity. Internationally, internationally, Russia is shifting away from Western institutions and building new alliances in Asia, the Middle East, Africa, and Latin America. This strategy helps reduce isolation but creates dependency on a smaller group of patterns. Diplomatically, Moscow faces setbacks in global organizations but compensates through regional influence and military presence abroad. In summary, Russia is redefining its identity and position in the world. It is becoming more close internally, more militarized from depend on state intervention, and more aligned with non-Western powers. These trends will shape not only Russia's future, but also the global security landscapes and international economic dynamics for years to come. Thank you for joining us for this special edition of Global Inside News. Good night.